The time has come to start the Hitachi Astemo Business Strategy Web Conference. Thank you very much for participating despite your busy schedules today. Today's explanation materials are uploaded on our website in the IR section as well as the news release site for your reference. In the Japanese channel, original speakers' English audio can be selected. Please use the interpretation button at the bottom of the Zoom screen. Let me introduce the speaker to you. The speaker today will be Bryce Koch, President and CEO of Hitachi Astemo Limited. Regarding the strategy of Hitachi Astemo, there will be a presentation by Mr. Koch. Please wait for the screen to appear. Mr. Koch, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Tani-san. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I hope that all of you are safe as we speak, and I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen and to raise questions later on Hitachi Astemo. I'm very happy to present the company today to you, and I look forward to a good discussion later on. On the next slide, you see the summary of what Hitachi Astemo is about. Actually, we are looking at three very important ambitions which we are aiming at. The first one, we talk about Hitachi Astemo to make the planet, basically, to make a world a better world. And I will elaborate more around that. The second aspect we are aiming at is to become or to be or to sustain and reinforce our global leadership in the products we are focusing on, in particular around Kpis. And again, I will elaborate more around that. The third aspect is a value creation for our stakeholders. And here we talk about basically a triple bottom line. We talk about the environmental bottom line. How do we contribute to the environment? We talk about the social contribution, and we talk about the economical contribution. And I will highlight that more in detail also later on. On the next slide, we are here talking about Astemo. What does it mean? Hitachi Astemo and Astemo stand for Advanced Sustainable Technology for Mobility. So it is basically us, what we are providing, what we're supporting with. As you know, the company was founded on the 1st of January 2021, and we count some approximately 90,000 colleagues and employees working in 27 countries. We have two major shareholders, Hitachi with 60.6% of the shares and Honda Motors with 33.4%. And as I mentioned before, our ambition and what we stand for is a contribution on the triple bottom line. Contribution to the society with improved safety, comfort, quality of life, with ADAS and advanced chassis. We talk about the contribution to the environment with electrification system and very efficient system, how to improve the environmental impact of mobility, basically with sustainable technologies. And last but not least, the economical contribution. We will be in 2021, in fiscal year 2021, we will be a 1.6 trillion yen company achieving more than 10% EBITDA, and that will grow to roughly 2 trillion yen by 2025 and more than 15% EBITDA. On the next slide, it is our view, very summarized and very simplified of the market we are acting on. First of all, it is very obvious to us, and we hear every day almost from different stakeholders, including governments, how CO2 emissions need to be reduced and basically come to a zero base. So this acceleration toward carbon neutrality is very obvious. We also see the Kpis technology, Kpis standing for basically connected electrical and electrified technologies. These Kpis technologies demand increasingly all over the world, and that's require huge investment in R&D and also especially in software. Last but not least, since a year, the world is impacted by COVID-19. That was something which was completely unprecedented for the whole industry. that has also been an opportunity to make the company more efficient, to also learn how to work differently together. So COVID didn't only bring challenges, that brought also opportunities to improve further. Now, if we go on the next slide, we believe that Hitachi Astemo has the opportunity to create the next generation of solutions around case. We have the very lucky situation that we can base on the 4 founding companies which we have with Hitachi Automotive System, with Keihin, Nissin, Kogyo, and Showa. We have very strong founding members which help us to create a unique society, a unique company. We can leverage very advanced technologies. We can reinforce market leadership, and I will highlight that more later, and create a scale on the selected products, which will be helping the company to grow sustainable. So we believe we are offering a good partnership possibilities for many of our customers. Now, I was mentioning the 4 founding companies, and that was also a unique opportunity to take the best talents of the 4 companies. And here you see our management team. You recognize some of the people you might know. I mean, we talk about Sugiyama-san, former CEO, president of Showa. We talk who is today heading the motorcycle division in Hitachi Astemo. We talk about Aida-san, who used to be the CEO, president of Keihin, who is today our CTO, who will develop our future winning technologies. We talk about Kawaguchi-san, who will help us and drive the company from a governance point of view, who will be very important to make that company also sustainable and reflect our shareholding situation. So a mixture of very strong people, the best talent of 4 companies coming together to run and to lead this company in a common sense. What was also very important, and I will highlight that a little bit more later, is the culture, creating a culture of a company which will be unique. I mean, we have the 4 founding culture, which actually are very close to each other. We talk about harmony, we talk about respect, we talk about pioneership, we talk about sincerity. These values were present in the 4 founding companies already. So it will be very important to cement, to strengthen these cultures and values. On the next slide, we talk about our customers and our footprint. As you recognize here, 3 things. The first thing is a very broad portfolio of customers, very strong partnership, which will help the company to grow going forward. The second point is the presence we are enjoying worldwide. We have 141 sites worldwide, rather well spread all over the globe. So with that, we can be very close to our customers, we can serve them locally and really develop partnership very, very narrow. And last but not least, the spread of our sales across the world. You see that by 2025, we will have a very good spread between different regions or countries. We talk basically, to simplify very much the picture, almost about 20 to 30% in Japan, respectively in Asia, respectively in China, and respectively in US. We are a little bit smaller in Europe with less than 10%, but actually otherwise extremely well spread across the region and the world. On the next slide, we talk about what we see as synergies and opportunities. We see in Americas, we see a very strong development coming, and probably even more now with the new administration around xEV. We see also the opportunity because of some new global OEM alliances that we might have some further opportunity to work closer with these global OEM and customers. We see in Asia a very strong potential on the 2-wheeler, meaning the motorcycle. That is a market which will grow significantly again as one of the consequences, by the way, of COVID. So good growth potential here, also around xEV and ADAS, so case in general. In China, again, we talk about electrification. We know the policy of the government. We know what they want to do. So big growth happening here. And that will happen not only with global OEM being present in China, but that will also happen with local customers where we are dealing and coming closer. Europe, we will leverage the acquisition we did 1 year ago of CBI and also Synergies on the software side to reinforce our presence. That has opened other channels in Europe. And we have today a very healthy growth. For instance, the 2 last years, we grew roughly 30% in Europe. So a very steep growth in sales in Europe, thanks to this presence. And last but not least, Japan. I think the leading technology innovations will be very much developing our product portfolio towards also more systems or subsystems, which will help us to be closer to our customers. On the next slide, you see where our positioning is. And we have very strong product positioning today where we believe we can maintain and even strengthen this leadership position. I talk about xEV, in particular inverters and motors, where we are today globally #1 in scale. We talk about suspension, in particular hydraulic, again #1, foundation brakes, and then engine AT control unit. So what you see on that left side of the slide, very strong positioning on a global scale. In general, if I look also at two-wheeler or motorcycle, we are in a very strong leadership position for basically the suspension, for the calipers, but also parts of the engine. So all in all, very strong positioning, which means that today already 50% of our portfolio is in a global leadership position, meaning position #1, 2, or 3 globally. We started 2 years ago with less than 20%. And we will achieve by 2025 more than 60% of our portfolio in a global leadership position, which is a very scalable and sustainable way of developing the business. Now, where do we see growth especially? I mean, ICE will decline from 2025 or would start to decline very soon as a pure ICE. But we believe that hybrids, xEV, will continue to grow for a number of years. Obviously, electrification will grow in general, but so everything around case will be growth vectors which we can follow. So in detail, it means xEV prioritization of investments. We will spend something like 300 billion yen in the coming 5 years in xEV, after having spent already 120 billion yen in the past years. AD/ADAS, again, ECU, intelligent software, positioning mapping, making driving safer will be one of the growth vector too, especially having developed our software capabilities over the years and now keeping developing it. Advanced chassis, we are probably one of the rare company having the 3 key components of the chassis, meaning suspension, steering, and brakes together. And acting along these 3 dimensions, together with AD/ADAS, we can basically steer the car, optimize the route of the car much better to increase safety of driving. And last but not least, the next generation two-wheelers or motorcycle. Here we talk about developing subsystem, optimizing also around case for motorcycle globally. So what does that mean in terms of case? What does that mean in terms of concrete example, or more concrete example? Again, case, connected, autonomous, electrified, and shared technologies or businesses. What does it mean? It means for us not only working on in the vehicle as Hitachi Astemo, it means also partnering more and more, working closer and closer with Hitachi. I mean, Lumada is one of the opportunity we have to make mobility more efficient, to make transmitting data more efficient, to do better predictive maintenance, to do better traffic control and optimization. All that together with Hitachi Limited and our inside the vehicle knowledge will be synergetic to create more values for our customers, being OEM or being others. Furthermore, on the motorcycle, I mentioned that briefly, basically developing systems, developing electrification, and also developing a better control, driving control of the motorcycle to be able to safer drive going forward. So on the next slide, we talk about the values we believe we can deliver. As you can see here, we believe that we will be roughly at 1.6 trillion yen in 2021, and it looks good so far. I mean, we see these numbers basically very feasible. We see that we will be above 10% EBITDA. We are still finalizing our budget, and then we will confirm wherever we have the final numbers. But then we also see the growth going further in 2025. All in all, I think that we will have roughly 60% of our portfolio, or more than 60% potentially, in a number 1 or number 3 position, which is very sustainable. We will grow 2 times the compound average growth rate of the market, and we will achieve an EBITDA margin in the vicinity of 15% by 2025. On the next slide, how do we get there? And here I would highlight 4 pillars. The first one is a portfolio. I was mentioning before, 2 years ago, the 4 companies combined had less than 20% in a leadership position, each on their own, by M&A. And you know, we have divested a number of companies in HIAMS, but also in Kpis. We have basically concentrated our portfolio to the products and the solution and the offering where we can differentiate, where we can grow, where we can get the scale we need. And that will basically lead to this leadership position thanks to this optimization of the portfolio. On the second pillar, we talk about the competitive advantage. Actually, we talk about cost. So it is about supply chain. It is about increasing efficiency. It is about automatization of processes to make them more efficient. It is about further improving quality. So a lot of cost aspect here to make ourselves more competitive. And scale will also help. The third pillar is what we call the enablers, what make the business better. Here we talk about digitization, business intelligence. Today, thanks to many tools, including Lumada, we have opportunities to understand our business better, to more be proactive or predictive in what's going on, and more transparent. We talk about quality, I mentioned that. We talk about our own software capabilities to develop software for our customers, to do it more efficiently, to do a better quality, to do it more resilient. We talk, and very important, 2 other aspects are our operating model and our people. On one hand, the operating model we have put in place today in Hitachi Astemo is a global operating model, meaning the divisions and the BUs have a global responsibility for P&L and result and balance sheet for their own business. They are responsible in front of the customer. They have everything they need to do their business on a global basis. So faster decision, more transparency, global thinking. On the other side, we have also very strong functions who are basically setting the governance. I think it is very important to have very strict and very clear governance in the company, and that is where the global functions are coming in, like finance, HR. And last but not least, we have our regions, which are basically performing close to the customer on behalf of the divisions and BUs. They are sitting locally, they are close to the customer, speak the same language, make sure that the customer voice is understood and that they get the delivery which they need to be successful. The second aspect which I mentioned is HR, human resources and culture. I think creating a culture out of 4 companies is obviously not very simple, but the chance we have is, as I said before, we are coming the 4 founding companies with very similar values and culture. You know the Hitachi values, and basically the 3 other companies coming together have very similar values. Again, we talk about harmony, we talk about sincerity, we talk about pioneer spirit, but also respect, which is very close. So I think the foundation is very similar to start with. The second thing, we have the same passion. In the 4 companies, our passion is about technology, is about Gemba. We share that. So sharing the same passion will help us to cement this company together. And the last pillar is about the risk and the growth. So I think we saw as we embark on our strategy a couple of years ago and coming where we are today, we had some risk on M&A. Can that happen? Can we make it happen? Today it is happening. And I think the experience we have had on the PMI, on the post-merger integration, of CBI, which we did more than a year ago, is helping us to do an even better job together with Astemo. So we have experience, and these M&A risk exists, but it is taken very seriously and with good experience. The market risk, I think the market risk is not a risk, it's a fact. The market has been down and we have faced significant headwinds, but I think that was also, as I said, the opportunity to make the company even more efficient. So I think we are now in a position to capture the value for our stakeholders from Hitachi Astemo. And in that value, one aspect are the synergies we plan to deliver on. We have identified today, based on 11 months of work from 14 work streams through the 4 companies, we have identified 16 billion yen of synergies, which we can deliver by 2025. These synergies are mostly cost synergies, and they are mostly driven by supply chain improvement, procurement, but they are also driven by efficiency improvement. So we will make our company more efficient, more agile, leaner, basically. Some of these synergies, 60 billion, include the benefit of some sales synergies, but the sales synergies are minimum because based on the SOP timing, most of them will kick in, will happen after 2025. So the 60 billion yen synergies we will deliver in 2025 are basically mostly cost synergies with very little sales synergies. Now, on a greener future and on this other bottom line, which is the environmental contribution, I think we are aiming today at 2 things, very important. The one is to make carbon neutral factories globally, and we will achieve that by using more energy efficient processes, by saving energy in general, but also by purchasing green energy to make sure that we don't impact the planet the way we produce. Similarly, we will have our products which will reduce CO2 consumption or emission from compared to 2010 by 50% by 2030. And that will be done by massively increasing our electrified portfolio, by improving our ICE engines, but also by improving other components like brakes and like rotating parts, which then consume fuel or might produce CO2 because of the consumption they originated. So a full optimization of the portfolio along the green aspect. And then the contribution to the society. At the end of the day, as I said, we at Hitachi Astemo, we want to contribute to make the world a better place. And therefore, contributing to the society, making mobility more sustainable, making mobility safer, making mobility more sustainable from an environmental point of view also, but also more comfortable. So it's around serving our customers, collaborating very intimately to improve the products and the delivery and the safety. It is about our employees to develop, to train, to create the appropriate culture or to further nurture the culture. And obviously our investors and other stakeholders to support from this triple bottom line. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation, and I would like to thank you for listening and welcome your questions. Thank you very much.
それではこれより質疑応答に移り
We would like to move on to questions and answers. At this moment, those of you with questions, please use the raise hands button on the web conferencing system screen. Among those who have raised your hand, we will recognize your name, so please unmute yourself, state your name and affiliation before asking your question. If you no longer wish to ask your question, please release the raise hand button on your side. And the video of the questioner will not be shown on the screen. We will take questions from the members of the press and the media on the Japanese channel, and then questions from institutional investors and financial analysts, and then members who are on the English channels. So we will first take questions from the members of the press on the Japanese channel. Those of you with questions, please press the raise hand button. Those of you listening to the English translation, please use the Japanese channel to ask questions. Any questions, please? Inagaki-san, please unmute yourself and start your questions.
Question. Thank you very much for this opportunity today. Can you hear me? I have 2 questions. First question is as follows. With this integration, each company's customers can be expanded, but what is going to be the changes in the customer portfolio going forward in terms of breakdown as well? Page 12. Page 12, you mentioned ICE. The investment is mentioned. You said that the investors selectively in the last man standing offerings. We are now moving away from gasoline. What is the specific area of focus in the selected ICE category?
Very much for the questions. First of all, on the customer portfolio, what we see, the growth will come and the synergies on that side will come from cross-selling. We have customers in one of the 4 companies which we didn't have in other companies. So basically, we can then promote this relationship and sell products cross customers. For instance, Keihin was selling DC-DC converter on the XEV side, which we don't have anywhere else in the company. With having that product portfolio, we can now sell it to other customers which Keihin didn't have, more probably Western customers. So cross-selling of products will be very important in a major development. From a customer ratio point of view, we don't want to disclose that at that stage. But basically, we will have a lot of customers from Japan. We still have a very strong Japan base. But today, every year, our global base increase. So as you have seen on the sales side, we talk almost about 20 to 30% in every region, which means we are basically spreading our sales cross customers more and more. On the second question on ICE, some of the products where we have a leadership position and we will keep focusing without giving you the whole list. We talk about airflow sensors, we talk about balances, we talk about ECU, so engine control unit. These products are products where we will be further investing slightly to make them even more competitive. But that is where we will be also last standing man. Thank you very much.
Hanada-san, unmute yourself and please start your questions. Question, can you hear me? Yes, we can. I have 2 questions. Question number 1, about the possibility of listing your company. You were a Japan-listed company. You delisted and integrated. Is there any possibility of listing your company in the Japanese market or elsewhere? And the second question is as follows. As you try to increase efficiencies, your manufacturing plants footprint, are you trying to slim it down? You have 141 plants. In 5 years' time, do you have any plans to reduce the number? What is your plan for slimming down or rationalizing your manufacturing footprint?
On listing the company, look, today it is not on the agenda. Do we, at some point of time, will consider, and especially my shareholders, consider listing the company? It might be. It might be because we need more financial strengths to invest further, but today it is not on the agenda. On the efficiency and the consolidation of plants, yes, we will consider that, and we are considering it. Do we need to reduce the number of plants? That is something which we are working on. There is no decision today. There is no concrete plans, but that is something we are looking in detail into that.
Thank you very much. Shiraki-san, please unmute and ask your question. Can you hear me? A question? Thank you very much. I also have two questions. First question is a follow-up to the previous question regarding your plants. You said that you are considering rationalization. In relation to that, what is a major focus in considering integration? You have already mentioned today that carbon neutral objective to be reached is very important. In the case of Japan, we have thermal power is emitting CO2. So in order to achieve the CO2 neutral objective, what is going to be your area portfolio? Do you have to shrink the production basis in Japan and increase production basis overseas from the point of view of being carbon neutral? Do you think this focus is necessary? Are you going to be considering such approaches going forward? So that's my first question. My second question is a recent topic. There is a shortage of semiconductors, and recently we have seen reduced production for car companies. Is this going to have an impact for your company as well? With the reduced production of automobiles, how do you think this period is going to be prolonged according to your view? What is your take on this?
Thank you very much for the questions also. On the carbon neutrality, we consider being carbon neutral on a global base. So that will not have an impact on the footprint. That includes Japan, that includes Asia, Europe, US, China. We want to be, as a Hitachi Astemo, carbon neutral. So no rationale to close plan or to exit Japan because of that. That will not impact our plan. We will find a solution, and the solution will be, as I said, how do we produce more efficiently, saving energy, having new technology, recuperating energy, and also purchasing green energy, and if need be, also CO2 certificate, but basically more carbon-free energy and saving. On the second question, on the semiconductor potential impact, yes, we see an impact today in the market. We don't have today significant impact from that. And we are looking forward to understand better how big the impact will be. We don't know it today, to be honest. Today, I don't see that to be a major impact. It will have some. Will that be disturbing the whole industry? I don't think so at that stage. But the jury is still out, and we will learn more as we go forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Ihara-san, please unmute yourself and start your questions. Question, can you hear me? Yes, we can. I have two main questions. Question number one is synergies with Lumada. According to page 13 of your slide deck, in automotive areas, what kind of services and Lumada-related solutions are you going to offer? You talked about preventive maintenance and traffic management and so forth. So could you elaborate on that? When do you think you will be able to provide the offer? And what's your strength in those areas? On the other hand, Lumada's inventory management, automated production, existing services of Lumada can be sold to Honda, Nissan, and Toyota Astemo's customers. That is one aspect of potential business. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you have any, are you getting any inquiries from customers on that? And about profit margin, I have a question. With the establishment of Hitachi Astemo, fiscal year 2021, revenue 1.6 trillion, EBIT 10%. What is the profit margin? And in the life sector, Well, there was a merger overseas for white goods, but for Life Solution for fiscal year 21, what's going to be the outlook for their performance?
For the questions. Thank you very much. On the Lumada synergies, I think there are many aspects here. One is, as I mentioned, and as you noticed, we talk about how to improve maintenance, predictive, anticipate maintenance. We talk about over the air. How do we basically, using Lumada knowledge, improve the software, improve the version, improve the communication? Typically, one of the examples here is positioning, map positioning, dynamic map positioning, where you get online just in time how the traffic situation is so that your vehicle can find the best routes, can avoid obstacles, can avoid traffic jam. And there are already, to answer also your question here, there are already applications for that. I mean, one of the car we just saw, and it was announced in September, the Nissan new Skyline has a high precision map positioning, which is updated automatically over the air. So that is one of the very concrete examples which exists today. We talk also about opportunities to have car parking on their own. Lumada will be able to optimize intelligently where the car can park. You just leave your car and the car find a parking lot. When you come back, you call the car with your mobile device, the car comes back to you. So these kind of technologies are prepared today. Some, as I just mentioned, are already being sold and available in some vehicles. We talk also about mobility as a service, where we can leverage Lumada to gather more data to understand, to be smarter about the customers. And that can be done via vehicles, which we talked to today, very much four-wheeler. But we have now a new opportunity, which is to leverage the two-wheeler, the motorcycle, which has even more data. So these opportunities today are very strong for Hitachi, but also for Hitachi Astemo. On the second question, on the way forward, how does Hitachi Limited or the life sector will perform? I'm sorry, I cannot answer that. I would leave my chairman, my boss, Kojima-san, answering that when he can on the third quarter, if he's available. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mohonda-san, please. Please unmute and ask your question. I hope you can hear me. Yes, we can. Global carbon neutral viewpoint is what I would like to clarify. What is your personal view, perhaps? Now, in terms of volume of production as well as volume of sales, optimizations is what I'd like to talk about. On page 19, it mentions that in the plant as well as products, you are looking for optimization, but the mass production or mass consumption does not seem to change according to this target, which is not just limited to your company, but with the Lumada and service and mass, I am sure this is going to become a significant business for you. But the production of automobiles is a production of parts. I think it would be very difficult to reach the optimal scale. Now, what do you think about the appropriate number of vehicles as well as commercial vehicles? And in that context, to reach profitability, what is your view in this regard?
Not sure I understand the question. You mean about carbon neutrality or you mean about other topic?
No, it's a simple question. Because less volume in terms of production, less vehicles will contribute to carbon neutrality. This is the ideal. But in your business, as well as the four entities coming together, means that there will be a disconnect between the ideal state for carbon neutrality and the ideal state for your business. How do you reconcile the two?
I didn't think very clear. So yeah, I think the number of vehicles will still grow actually. So which is supporting your point or concern. But the way to reconcile that are three ways. The first one is how to produce more efficiently, how to optimize not only the consumption of the machine we use in the factories, but how to make them more efficient, less energy consuming, recycle the energy. How can we do this optimization is one of the topics we're working on. And we have good example of how to use these kind of machine more efficiently or change the machine or update them. So producing more efficiently is one aspect. The second aspect is basically recycling the energy, which we can do also recycling the heat, which we can then transform. So how do we recycle the energy we use? And the third aspect, how to reconcile this growing number of vehicles and still being carbon neutral in the production, is to use green energy, photovoltaic panels on the roof of the factory, buying renewable energy from suppliers, or developing more our own energy supply from a green point of view, so that we use only green energy. That is a third way to basically reconcile the growth of production and still becoming CO2 neutral in 10 or 15 years from now.
Thank you. Members of the press, I do see that hands are still being raised, but we would like to take questions now from institutional investors and analysts. Izawa-san, I recognize you. Please unmute yourself and start your questions. Thank you. Question. Can you hear me? Yes, we can. Thank you. I have two questions. My first question is, Hitachi's automotive business, for that to enjoy high valuation from the market, I think you need to have excellent disclosure. Here in Japan, there's Nippon Densan, who has excellent disclosure. So the balance sheet, cash flow statement, and profit and loss statement, these three financial statements, balance of orders. Do you have any plans to disclose these numbers? That's my first question. And the second is about EBITDA margin. You have shown what your plan is, but internally, in terms of profit management, are you going to drive profit management through EBITDA margin? Is that going to be the basis, or are you going to utilize other metrics, other indicators? Perhaps you can manage profit by product, or through the timeline. So what kind of metrics internally are you going to use in order to manage profit margins?
So yes, we will disclose more. As you, I hope, understand, now being so close to the third quarter announcement, we cannot disclose specific figures today. But yes, we intend to disclose more about the company so that you have a better and a good picture of the company. That will be mentioned, and that will be going forward in Q3 and in Q4 announcements again, so that you understand more and more Hitachi Astemo. On the KPIs, the key performance indicator, we will use internally the KPIs similar or the same as the Hitachi Group, obviously. So we will talk about sales, we will talk about operating profit, we will talk about free cash flow, ROIC. So that will be the KPIs we will follow, and more as we go.
Thank you. Yasui-san, please. Please unmute and ask your question. Question. I hope you can hear me. Thank you. I have two questions. The first question is page 11. The products are mentioned here. Thank you very much for this information. At first glance, hydraulic suspension as well as a braking system, even with EV, I don't think the enabling technologies will change that much. But we are now in once in a 100 times a change centering on case. So there seems to be inverter and could change dramatically. So can you clarify which ones will remain unchanged, which ones will change significantly, where there is risk in terms of products, where stable profitability can be obtained? Please give more clarity amongst your products. Now, secondly, 1.6 trillion or so in terms of revenues, and the number of employees, 90,000. And 141 bases globally. It seems too much in terms of numbers. It seems excessive. So within a time frame of 10 years or even 3 years, 5 years, will you be rationalizing further? Is this something you're considering already? Or is this something that you'll be considering going forward? Synergy, 60 billion yen was mentioned. I believe this is an upside. So please give more clarity.
Thank you very much. Yes, I mean, from a portfolio point of view, if you refer to the page 11, I think the whole portfolio will evolve in new technologies. We talk about motors and inverters where efficiency, where new semiconductors, we talk about IGBT today, it will go more and more for silicon carbide. So there are new technologies coming to improve efficiency, to make it more compact, to increase the torque, to make it high torque, lightweight. So that are the development we are doing to basically differentiate from the market, and not only differentiate in terms of technologies, but also create the scale, which will be more and more needed in these products. If we talk about the other products like suspension and brakes, you will see more and more electrification of these products, meaning that you will see braking by wire, meaning that it will be electrical brakes and not anymore hydraulic brakes, which will also help basically on the safety side, because suddenly you can combine suspension, steering, and brakes electrically and optimize these 3 dimensions so that the vehicle not only brake, but can also avoid an obstacle and then avoid it by adapting the suspension so that the vehicle doesn't go out of control. So it will be more around this system development and electrification of these components. Now, from an attractivity point of view, I think all these products are very attractive because you differentiate with technologies, you differentiate with weight saving, you differentiate with safety, and therefore they're all very, very attractive for us. That's also why we are concentrating on it. That's also why we did a lot of divestments, because we believe that we were not the right partner or the right home for these products, not seeing us being strong enough there. On the second thing, on the footprint, or the factories and number of people, as I mentioned before, we are looking into that because I want, and we all want to have a very efficient organization. But here, please also consider that the vertical integration. How much do we do in-house? How much do we outsource? And today, for a few reasons, like quality, like technology, like also scale, we have a lot which we do in-house to safeguard the quality and again the technology for our customers. So vertical integration is an aspect which need to be considered also when we make this kind of ratio. Nevertheless, as I mentioned before, we are actively looking every quarter, every year, what is needed to be optimized, what is needed to be rationalized to make sure that we remain competitive. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you. Yoshizumi-san, unmute yourself and state your questions, please. Question, can you hear me? Yes, we can. Thank you. I have 3 questions I would like to ask. My first question is with respect to your product portfolio, page 11. where you have high market shares, you said that you would like to achieve 60% or more. Where market shares are low, I think those products will see further loss in market share, perhaps. So how are you going to treat these products? Are you going to discontinue them or sell them off? Any ideas on products where your market share may decline? And the second point is your investment cost. Going forward, areas that you will be focusing on is case-related, where R&D cost will have to increase, most likely. So cost synergies of 60 billion you will try to achieve, I understand that, but if the investment cost is going to be heavy, you may not be able to drive profitability up. So development cost, is it likely to rise in the future? What's your outlook on your R&D cost? And my third question, again on page 11, EV, motors and inverters. These are going to be important. And power semiconductors. Within your group, I think you partly manufacture power semiconductors. Is your plan to bring these productions in-house further going forward?
Thank you very much for the questions also. On the products, as you identified, we say we have products where we want to be leader, and there are other products where we might not be leader, but they are still attractive. And they are still basically contributing to the company with very limited investments. We have such products in these 40% remaining or less than 40%, and we have also products where we will need to discontinue as we go because we become subscale or we don't have differentiating technologies. These products are the one we talk with our customers because that might be discontinued over the coming years. But that is something we will do in very close collaboration with our customers because we don't want to let them down. We want to make sure that these kind of transitions are happening very smoothly. So depending on the maturity of the products, depending on the market position, we will take these kind of measures going forward. That will also free up resources. That will also free up not only people, but potentially also investments capabilities. On the second, and I hope you understand, I cannot elaborate too much on these products now before we have found agreement with our customers on these selected products. On the second point on the R&D, please consider that the 4 companies today have had duplication of R&D. Take Keihin and Hitachi Automotive. We were both developing inverters, so redundancy of work. We will bring these resources together in order to speed up the development, in order to take the best from the both companies. So it will improve, it will help us to serve more customers at once because we have then more resources available for one product, and it's help us then to speed up the development. So on that side, and I gave you only one example, that is a way we will have much more efficient R&D going forward. Furthermore, there are products where R&D is not needed anymore, and we used to spend still money in the past because we had no clear enough decision to say that's a product we will stop over time. So that will also bring saving in R&D. All in all, and thirdly, we are also learning from each other, from the 4 companies, how to make R&D more efficient. R&D is a lot of people knowledge, but it's also testing. It is also sometimes outsourcing. That is something which we can learn how to make R&D much more efficient. And I've done that also in the past. Without decreasing R&D, we just get much more output with the same number of people. And the last point on technologies and R&D going forward, we will, for some products, for some components, like take E-axle. E-axle is basically an inverter, a motor, and a gearbox. Gearbox are extremely precise, very high level of accuracy. We understand it because Kane bring that knowledge, but we will not do that much in-house. We will partner with someone. So we will also kind of share the cost with, for some specific components where we believe some partners are better than we are. They have a better scale in that component, and therefore we will partner with them. With that, I believe that we will have sufficient money to not only grow our competences and technologies, but also support the profit which we want to deliver. On the last point, on the power electronics for inverters in particular, or semiconductor, I don't have the intention to insource that at all, because that is extremely, how should I say, costly. I will partner. Hitachi has some semiconductor now, also with the acquisition of ABB Power Grid. We will partner closely with Hitachi, but we will probably also partner closely with other partners. But I will for sure not insource that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oka-san, please. Please unmute and proceed with your question. Thank you. A question. I hope you can hear me. I just have one question. Page 16. Now for XEV, it seems that it will be 100 billion and 300 billion for 25. It seems that it is going to increase from 100 billion to 300 billion. What kind of products is going to drive this growth? For example, for inverter, Volkswagen Group, you can sell more, and you can have 800 volt inverter that is developed. How are you going to achieve this objective?
Thank you very much for the question. Yes, we have, by the way, as you may know, we have been the first one having a 800 volt inverter, and you mentioned the Volkswagen Group. In that case, it was one of the brand of the Volkswagen Group. So we have that. But why do we believe we will spend more money going forward? The first one is because software will grow more and more, and you hear it through the whole industry. It will require more investment. It will be people, it will be development tools, testing tools. So that is one aspect. The other aspect is because of the volume growth, we will also have more different options, different parts, different sizes. So that will require also development, but also investment in general. Also, when we talk about ADAS, as you know, we developed a very advanced stereo camera 1 year ago. That camera will also reach more customers, which requires some customization, which will also require more cost. As we see today, we have our XEV business was a single-digit percentage of our sales in the past, or the last 2 years. It will grow to, it will basically triple or almost quadruple in percentage of sales for the whole group. So the whole group is growing, and XEV will basically triple or more than triple in terms of percentage of the sales ratio for the whole group. So that require more investments, more R&D, more advanced products. I mentioned e-axle. We need to optimize our e-axle. We need to modularize it, so different size, but commoditizing every single part of it, but then combining it in a way that it's become unique for the customer. All that will require investment to be competitive. Thank you very much.
What about regions? Which regions do you expect to see growth? Which regions will grow in this regard?
In terms of growth in general, I mean, we see growth in XEV, in particular in China, but we see also growth in Europe. We see growth in Americas because it will be a combination of XEV, but also more advanced chassis and ADAS. We see growth in Asia, in particular in India, linked to two-wheeler motorcycle. And then in general, Asia, I mean, you talk about Vietnam, you talk about Indonesia, which will also drive growth on two-wheeler. We don't see very much growth in Japan. I think it's more flattish if growth will be very slow. But we see growth in products like XEV, we see growth in products like ADAS, which will happen in Japan for us. So thank you.
Thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you. I see more hands, but in the interest of time, we would like to take questions from those of you on the English channel. So those of you with questions, please press raise hand button, please. No questions. So we would like to get back to the Japanese channel. Members of the press, institutional investors, financial analysts, anyone's welcome. If you have a question, please press the raise hand button. Harada-san, please unmute yourself and state your questions. Question. Dr. Ko, thank you very much for your presentation. I have two questions regarding synergy, one question regarding strategies. So my first question is this, about the cost. Well, you said that most of the synergies are going to be cost related. About the three companies other than Hitachi, among the four, I think the fixed cost is rather stable because of their established business. Hitachi Automotive System perhaps has a larger fixed cost that they have to deal with. Is that correct understanding? And cost synergies on AMS, when do you think we will be able to see that? That's my first question. My second question has to do with sales-related synergies. Sales synergies will be generated some years from now, but Hitachi AMS products with three Honda-related businesses combined, you would like to cross-sell to those customer base. So you said, do you think that sales to Honda-related customers will rise in terms of sales synergies, and what's going to be the timeline? And last but not least, about strategy. Dr. Ko, you talked about the importance of software. XEV in the Chinese market will increase with new entrants. So inclusive of software, I think investments will rise for systems development. With collaboration with Hitachi, do you think you will be able to advance development of software even more? Or do you think that Hitachi needs to acquire more software-related businesses? So synergies with Hitachi, what's going to be the plus and the minus? What do you think Hitachi lacks in terms of software development today?
Thank you very much. On the cost synergies, I think by coming together, I think all of us can do better, meaning all of us, the four companies. In terms of HIAM, so Hitachi Automotive Systems, we had some homework to do, which we have done where the last 2 years. Can we do more? Yes, we can improve more efficiency for sure. But also coming together, I'm sure that, and what we have started to see, we have worked on 14 work streams during the 11 months, as I mentioned before. And these 14 work streams were basically filled with 145 people from the four companies to identify these synergies. So that has been a very thoughtful work. And we have identified that we have good example of improvement, of cost improvement in any of the company. We can learn how Showa is doing a better quality work on some product lines. We can learn from Keihin how they do an extremely efficient development of some power modules for cars. We learn from Nissin how they have a very good control systems of functions for brakes. and we learn a few other things from Hayam. So basically everyone can learn from each other, and that will be an optimization, basically taking the best from each of us. That has been identified, and therefore now it is a matter of rolling it out, and we will have a very strong PMI to drive that, or post-merger integration, which will go along these 14 work streams. It will be led by Abe-san. Abe-san was one of the top 3 executives of Keihin, so very high-level executive, and he will lead these PMI to make sure that we deliver on these cross synergies and on the cost side. On the sales synergies, we hope that by combining our technologies, we can win more business with Honda, but not only Honda, of course not. We will also win more business. You mentioned China. We are today winning business with local OEMs, not only global OEMs present in China, but local OEMs where we win business in the electrification area. We do the same in Europe. As I was mentioning, thanks for the combination of the technologies today, we see a growth in the double-digit number in our European footprint. So that will be growth not only because of potentially delivering more to Honda, but to all our customers. And last but not least, on the software xEV, the synergies with Hitachi, I think the synergies are extremely meaningful because Hitachi has an extremely good development capability, processes, how to develop software. So we can learn more and more from that. We develop our own knowledge also. So we mutually, hopefully at some point of time, can learn from each other. Can Hitachi do software better? I'm not here to have a judgment on that. I mean, that's something you need to ask my Hitachi colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. So although we have gone beyond the allocated time, we will take one more question before we close. There is no longer anyone with hand up. So with this, we would like to bring Hitachi Astemo Business Strategy Web Conference to a close. Thank you very much for your attendance today.